The federal government is nearing an agreement on a new national minimum wage as President Bola Tinubu has invited the organized labor, including the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, to a meeting at the Aso Villa today. The president is expected to make a decision on the 62,000 naira proposal from the government and private sector, as well as the 250,000 naira demand from the organized labor. This meeting comes about a month after President Tinubu announced in his Democracy Day speech on June 12, 2024, that an executive bill on the new national minimum wage for workers will soon be sent to the National Assembly for passage. Joining us to discuss this is public affairs commentator Dr. Jide Johnson. Hello, Jide. Thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Good day to our viewers all over the world. Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, the new minimum wage saga seems to have dragged on for too long. Should we be expecting a resolution at the end of today, as the organized labor will be meeting with the president on the matter?
I think that we'll be getting a final solution to the problem because the ultimate decision maker when it comes to Federal Republic of Nigeria is the president. And the decision maker on the part of the labor are the labor leaders. So I think that at the end of the day, we should be able to find a resolution between the 62,000 proposal of the federal government and the 250,000 demands of the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress. So I think at the end of today, we should be able to find a resolution to that particular problem.
Okay. We do hope the same. Now, but figures have actually been thrown around from different quarters as to what the minimum wage should be. And as you already know, some states even pay, more than what the government is saying that they would pay. That's 62,000 naira. However, there's a very, very wide gap in the figures presented by all parties involved, with the labor insisting or still insisting on 250,000 naira. Now, at this point, what amount would you consider fair for Nigerian workers, considering the present economic realities?
I think the range of 120,000 to 150,000 will be fair as minimum wage, because you have to graduate up to from level 1, whatever level.
But that was the amount you actually suggested a few weeks ago. Now, let's not forget that inflation has increased as well.
Well, when all the policy put in place by the government begins to take its shape, I'm sure that the price of food will drop. Just this week, the federal government removed duties on ban on importation of food and what have you. I think that when we put all of that in place, I'm sure the inflation will reduce to a certain extent. But if you are looking at the ability of government to pay and for it not to contribute to the double-digit inflation that we have, I think 120,000 to 150,000 will be fair as minimum wage for an average worker in Nigeria. Don't forget, this is not even peculiar to those working in government. You're also talking about those that are working in organized private sector. You're also talking about small and medium-scale enterprises who have to scale their own wages according to whatever is passed by the National Assembly as the minimum wage in Nigeria. So if you are looking at it holistically from the ability to pay on the part of the government and other employers of labor in the country, and what will be a basic living wage for an average Nigerian, I think 120,000 to 150,000 will be appropriate at this particular point in time, taking into consideration that there are other steps that are being taken by government to address the double-digit inflation that we have in the country.
All right. So, but in your professional opinion, and if you were to advise the labor, do you think that they should accept if the federal government proposes any figure lower than 100,000 naira?
I don't think the labor should. Anything less than 100,000. You see, we break it down. Now, by the 1988 national policy on population, it's a family of 6, 4 children and the 2 parents. So if you break 100,000 naira down by family of 6 over a period of 30 days, what does it amount to? So it's important for us to break it down. Until you break down a problem, you don't get solution to it. So anything less than 100,000 is just paying lip service to minimum wage in Nigeria. Even 100,000 might not even be sufficient enough as a living wage for an average person in Nigeria. What will cover 100,000 will just be a surviving wage.
All right, so now, Jide, do you think the governors would follow through on this if implemented, as they've actually said that they cannot afford to pay even 60,000 naira? And
that brings to bear the issue of the voters, the citizen, in terms of what should be their own role in electing who will represent their best interest. If governors are saying they can't afford to pay it, we should be electing governors that can think out of the box, not governors that will be waiting for federal allocation to solve the problem of their state. We should be electing people that are coming to tap the untapped potential of the states and make revenue for their states. Now, we have been electing, quote unquote, let me put it in this way, quote unquote, lazy people who relies on federal allocation at the end of the month to make whatever projects, expenses they want to use to run the state. Nigeria has a lot of potential. Do we have people with the right set of advisors to tap into the untapped potentials of this country, to generate revenue, to ensure that Nigerians are paid the living wage they are paid? When it comes to the governor funding their lifestyle, when it comes to buying exotic cars to use as utility vehicles, when it comes to funding their pet projects, they will have the resources to do that. But when it comes to giving the average citizen deliverables of democracy, they are not asking for too much. If you convert 100,000 naira to dollar, what does it equate to? It does not even equate to what should be the Human Development Index and in terms of the living wage that an average person should collect in a day globally. So if you look at the global index, I'm not sure we're asking too much in Nigeria. The governor needs to think outside of the box. They need to think beyond the jack that comes at the end of the month. They need to tap into the potentials of their state in driving home their own internally generated revenue in order to meet up with the needs and the demands of their states.
All right, well, thank you so much, Dr. Jide Johnson, for speaking to us on this.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.